So if you already played Conan Exiles, you've probably been inundated with a slew of new information about Update 3.0, the Age of Sorcery. If you're a new player coming in, you'll probably find yourself overwhelmed with all the new additions alongside the systems already in the game. This video aims to serve as a comprehensive review of the entire Age of Sorcery update. For clarity, this video is indeed sponsored by Funcom, the developers of the game. Regardless of the sponsorship, I believe in transparency, and thus this review will be one thing: honest. I'll be shining a spotlight on the good and the bad equally. Firstly, let's dive straight into Sorcery. This is the main feature of the update and of course serves as Update 3.0's namesake. Sorcery in Conan Exiles takes the form of slow, deliberate and ritualistic magic, requiring the use of various arcane bits and bobs to act as reagents. You won't be throwing fireballs or casting magic missiles, as it just doesn't fit the universe of Conan the Barbarian. Sorcery is split into a few distinct categories: ritualistic magic, crafting magic, and active magic. Ritualistic magic takes the form of summoning demons, raising the dead, and performing sacrifices. This is found within the Circle of Power, the Shallow Grave, and the Sacrificial Stone. Ritualistic magic is a cornerstone of sorcery, allowing you to indulge in the dark arts and draw arcane rewards for your efforts. Many of these rewards, like undead followers and demonic equipment, are a limited time boost to your own power. The inclusion of human sacrifice for either the blood or the soul allows you to either craft casting resources or imbue your own soul with corruption respectively. Crafting magic is found in the Thaumaturgy and Alchemist benches. This is very much an avenue to augment your skills, fuel your magic and learn more sorcerous knowledge. With these new additions, you'll be able to craft reagent pouches and use a variety of methods to upgrade your Tome of Kurak, the book that dictates all you know about sorcery, unlocking new spells as you go. Crafting magic is probably the most passive form of sorcery, but it's an essential skill to becoming a fearsome sorcerer. Finally, active magic is where you'll be casting your spells. Lightning Storm, Creeping Darkness, Maskell, all of your more stereotypical forms of magic come from this avenue. Active magic requires reagent pouches of varying tiers, but also an investment into corruption, which we'll touch on shortly. Active magic is by far the flashiest form of sorcery, allowing you to bend the natural order and carve out an advantage in whatever you're doing, be it combat, exploration or farming resources. That being said, magic itself isn't too great at direct combat, as it's designed to be more utilitarian, and thus a lot of spells will focus on making exploration, farming, etc. easier. Back to corruption, this is the backbone of sorcery. Power demands sacrifice, and you'll have to sacrifice your physical form for that power. Almost all sorcerous activities imbue you with a small amount of corruption, and certain active magics will require that you meet a certain threshold of corruption. This corruption can be made permanent using soul essences, something we'll cover in the attribute rework section. Overall, the introduction of sorcery is one of the biggest and best things about Update 3.0. It adds a decent amount of new content and augments pre-existing content greatly, allowing you flexibility in how you approach scenarios and how you choose to build your character. There are some gaps within some segments, specifically within the active magic section. Some of the spellcasting schools, especially demonology, are notably barren. I'm hopeful that these segments will be added in the future chapters and updates, but overall, I'd say that sorcery is a great addition to the game. Next, for the perks and attributes rework. A common complaint amongst pretty much all segments of the player base was that the meta for how to build your character was simply too stale. This is something Funcom recognised and decided it was time to address with this update. Every attribute has been significantly reworked, with almost every single perk changed or adjusted. The aim was to craft a system that broke the stale meta and offered players more choice and personal input on exactly how they built their own character. The previous skill trees were replaced by skills with renewed purpose and focus. With these new changes, you can become a katana-wielding ninja, a frontline tank in heavy armour, a skilled craftsman, a master gatherer, and much more. This is done not only through new attribute trees, but also new perks that do away with many of the older pointless perks, replacing them with new ones. The attribute point system has also been flattened down and simplified, reducing the total number of skill points earned, and flattening the cost of each level to a single point, making each increase in each individual point feel more impactful. Levels 10 and 20 of each tree also offer a multiple choice option for perks, allowing further specialisation. These new changes definitely feel a lot more important and purposeful, as they should. Conan Exiles is a survival game, yes, but I think it focuses more on the RPG element. Building your own character is a massive part of the game, and with the staleness of the previous meta, most player agency was nullified unless you were willing to take a clear disadvantage throughout your playtime. Now it seems that whilst there is indeed more variety in builds, they're also more viable overall, something which is incredibly valuable to have in a game like Conan. Alongside this significant overhaul is the addition of corrupted attributes. I mentioned this earlier in the sorcery section, and it's how you imbue sorcerer's power onto your own physical form, reducing your maximum stamina and health while granting access to new corrupted perks. The three corruptible skills are Strength, Vitality and Authority. The new corrupted perks are pretty cool and very fun to play with, though I suspect their utility may be limited. With the correct build, I do believe these corrupted perks could absolutely shine as a new and valuable addition to gameplay, though I think taking them without due care and attention is very risky. I do feel that this is more the case for Strength and Vitality, as melee combat, whilst under the effects of heavy corruption, seems to be a bit antithetical, though better players than me could likely make these work. I'm also very surprised to see that Agility is not a corruptible skill, and if any skills were made corruptible in the future, I think Agility is the one. As a side note, to further simplify things, the previously obscure weapon and armour bonuses have been changed. Prior to this update, they would read bonus to strength, to agility, etc., whereas now they have weapon scaling based on your skills, similar in vein to Dark Souls. Some weapons scale with agility, and others with strength, meaning your investment in those skills grows even more valuable in terms of your damage output. Having seen the damage you can pump out with my own non-perfected builds, it does concern me slightly that most challenges within the game simply might become too easy. This also ties into the Thrall Rework, which I'll touch on later, but I do think some high-end and deliberately challenging content may be needed in the future, especially if power continues to creep upwards. Overall, the perk and attributes rework is a solid new addition. The meta has been shaken up significantly, and in my own playtime with the update it feels like a variety of builds are now viable, rather than focusing on a small number of truly effective builds. That being said, archery still feels a bit weak to me, and it's one specific build that I think could do with another buff in the future, though again, I'm not the best Conan player, and better players than me may make better archery builds. I'm also not 100% sold on the effectiveness of some of the corrupted perks and attributes, though I think the usefulness of this feature is something that time will tell the tale of. Overall, I think the perks and attributes rework is a pretty good addition to Conan Exiles. An issue within Conan for a while, alongside the stale meta for building your character, was how important thralls were. Combat thralls were essential for optimal gameplay in PvE and PvP, and by taking the time to capture a good thrall, most content within the game became a spectator sport, where you watched your own thrall destroy enemies. With this rework, Funcom have aimed to nerf thralls, making them less essential and more of an elective choice. This was achieved by reducing their health and damage output, alongside additions to the new authority skill. The aim was to stop thralls being absolute tanks and make the player the star of the show, but also to keep the option of speccing into authority if you really wanted to play with thralls. Again, I'm not the best Conan player, but I've seen people waltz through dungeons like the Black Keep with a strong fighter thrall, and it did feel like the player character was actually weaker than some of the best fighter thralls in the game. These new changes have received a mixed reception from the player base. Many have said that the content will now become impossible without strong thralls, which I do somewhat disagree with, whereas others have praised the choice to put the player in the driver's seat, stopping fighter thralls being a must-have investment, whilst also keeping the option of making them more effective as a build choice, not an inherent advantage. Personally, I'm pretty happy with the Thrall rework. The player should absolutely be the leading force in combat in the game, and some thralls were definitely too strong. By making the option to invest in thralls a choice rather than an objective advantage, I think the game will only benefit from this option. A lot of the new perks have interesting effects on your thralls, and of course the corrupted elements also have some very interesting, very dark effects on the skill. Had thralls been nerfed with no recourse to improve them, that would have been a pretty big misstep, but with the inclusion of the authority skill, I think the Thrall rework is pretty good. When I first read the Update 3.0 patch notes, the building overhaul section made me nervous. I'd become so comfortable with the previous system, as convoluted as it was, that I was worried that a full overhaul might be a negative. I am very pleased to say that I was incredibly wrong, and this new system is a gargantuan improvement. As a PC player, one thing I never really thought of was that building was actually very difficult for the console folks. The gamepad was just not a great tool for navigating the complex menus, especially as an admin, and that system needed changing. The building overhaul does away with the complicated admin panel method, although at the time of writing that still works, and instead replaces it with a large contextual menu, allowing you to cycle through all the available building pieces and construct them from a single tool, that being the construction hammer. If I had to compare this to another game's building system, it'd likely be Fortnite. This massive menu is split into tons of different categories to help you filter through the options available. The overhaul also includes creative mode and 2 new but incredibly useful settings. Creative mode is much like you'd expect, removing all survival and PvE elements alongside material costs to allow you to build to your heart's content. The mode also allows you to fly around to build, making life much easier than regular. It's basically identical to Minecraft's creative mode, so if you've played that before, you know what to expect. Those 2 new settings I mentioned earlier are Ignore Stability Loss and Build Anywhere. Ignore Stability Loss basically disables the stability system, meaning that as long as one piece of your base has stability, any other connected piece won't cause any stability loss. Build Anywhere does what it says on the tin, removing all of the restricted building areas, but unfortunately not relaxing the placement rules like the Less Building Placement Restrictions mod does. There are some smaller changes too, like stopping grass clipping through the foundations and ceilings. This feature has proven a touch troublesome on Test Live, where a recent fix has made it somewhat more consistent, though I think another fix or 2 may be needed to make this feature work as intended. The new creative mode and other building settings are great. The overall changes to the building system and the introduction of the new building menu is an amazing streamlining method for the building process, making things much easier on both PC and console. My one solid criticism is that I am concerned about the menu. Already it feels a touch bloated in the decoration menu, with some items weirdly categorised, making specific pieces difficult to find. As time goes on and more items from the Battle Pass and Bazaar are added, the menu will only become more bloated. To rectify that, a search bar and better categorisation could help improve the menu. Again, at the time of writing, the old method through the admin panel does still work, and hopefully that isn't disabled, because if I can't find something in the build menu, I go straight to the admin panel, and removing that utility would not be very good until the menu is optimised. Overall though, the building overhaul is much better than the previous system and makes building a breeze. Ages usher in the introduction of an update schedule for Conan Exiles. Yes, it appears Conan will finally get consistent and regular updates, something that has been desperately needed to truly capitalise on its potential. Ages are overarching seasons of content, and this update ushers in the Age of Sorcery. Most Ages will have 2 or 3 chapters, each chapter acting as a sub-season of content lasting for about 3 months. Each chapter comes with a new battle pass, additions to the Black Lotus Bazaar, and of course new free content updates. It's also a more lore-friendly method of updating the game, allowing the devs to use the age system not only to introduce new features, but also to explain them and create new story events within Conan Exiles. Overall, the new ages system, if it lives up to its promise, is exactly what Conan needs. It has indeed been an issue in Conan for a while, and a consistent schedule of updates is a great way to not only bring new players in, but also keep people playing. It's no secret that some of the vastly popular games out there see a huge benefit from their regular content drops, and hopefully that will be true for Conan too. The impact of this system will take a while to manifest, but I think by the time the second age hits next year, we'll have a better idea of how the Aegis system has performed. Right, strap in, it's time for the controversial stuff, the Battle Pass and the Bazaar. Before we look at the details, I think it's important to understand why this is being added. To put it in layman's terms, Conan needs cash flow to ensure the game's future. If we're being honest, game sales of Conan Exiles and the DLC simply can't float the project anymore. Most people that would have bought the game and the DLC likely already have, and regardless of personal opinions on the games as a service model, any project hoping for consistent post-launch content needs extra cash flow. Fortunately, the addition of these systems will also ensure that all game content added from now on is completely free for everyone. The last major expansion, Isle of Siptar, put a lot of people off with its $20 price tag and split the player base even more than it already was, and by making future content additions and expansions available to everyone for free, that will help to keep the community together, enjoying the same wealth of content. It's also worth noting that all content in the Battle Pass and Bazaar is stated to be cosmetic only forever, and that Funcom will never sell power in the game. So firstly, the Battle Pass. The pass has 3 tiers, that being Free, Standard and Premium. Free offers a handful of rewards, well, for free. Standard is a paid tier that offers access to all rewards once earned, and Premium is another paid tier that offers that same level of access alongside 15 levels instantly completed as soon as you purchase the pass. I'm going to say it now, I don't think the addition of the Premium Pass was a good idea. I feel that it's not really worth it and the language overcomplicates what should be a fairly simple system. I would much rather have just had free and regular. The regular Battle Pass at the time of writing costs $10 and must be purchased with Crom coins, the new premium currency. $10 is the minimum amount of coins you can buy. There are 60 tiers of this Battle Pass, and if you complete the Chapter 1 Battle Pass up to about tier 57 I think, you'll earn enough Crom coins back to purchase the next Battle Pass. I do believe this will continue throughout all future Battle Passes, so you only need to buy the pass once if you complete the passes and earn the Crom coins back. The pass is progressed through challenges that infinitely scroll, meaning there is no hard cap on how much XP you can earn per day. However, every day you'll earn 5 XP boosters that will increase the challenge XP you earn, and after they're expended you'll drop down to the base XP for the challenges you complete. These boosters can stack up to 25, meaning that if you miss 4 days and come back on the 5th, you effectively won't lose any bonus XP. You'll automatically use 1 booster for every 1 challenge you complete, and the boosters can stack up to 25, meaning that if you miss 4 days of gameplay and come back on the 5th, you effectively won't lose any bonus XP when you begin to use those boosters. Challenge difficulty is spread across different tiers and includes adaptive difficulty for fresh characters, meaning a level 1 won't be tasked with slaying a boss or completing a dungeon. According to Dennis, the lead dev, progression is pretty fair. It's apparently balanced on the metric of playing 2 hours of Conan a week, which would allow you to complete the Battle Pass just in time for the next one. For people who play the game more, it should be hopefully fairly easy to progress and complete the pass. Challenges are also tracked on all manner of servers, including PvP, PvE, modded, single player, and even single player worlds with admin mode enabled, though server admins can turn Battle Pass progression off if they wish. Tracking progress on all servers, including single player, was the ideal way to do this, and I'm pretty happy they went with it. One thing I don't like about the Battle Pass is that once the rewards are gone, they're gone. Some of the more notable rewards may later be adjusted and added to the Bazaar with significant changes to the design and such, but generally speaking, Battle Pass rewards are time limited. Is this FOMO? Yeah, I suppose, but it's nothing new. Companies have been using FOMO for decades as a sales tactic, and if we're being honest, it's not going to go away. However, if Funcom want to make this Battle Pass appeal as much as possible, I think one of the best things to do would have been to make past Battle Passes playable after they've expired, even if it's on a delay. This is not industry standard. Not many games do this. I think I've only heard of 1 or 2, but it is an incredibly user-friendly decision that I think a lot of people would appreciate. Funcom do seem pretty solid on this not being the case, but they've said they will listen to feedback. The only way to make this change likely is to make noise about it, and whilst I've stated my opinion many times, the community should be vocal about their desire to see this change. That being said, maybe don't leave abuse for the developers. Yes, it's something that most of us want to see change, but some of the comments I've seen on various social media channels are, frankly, embarrassing. I'm not going to tell you how to conduct yourself, that's not for me to do, but the best way to invoke change is to do so firmly and politely. Shouting abuse and accusations at the devs just makes those with valid complaints seem less serious. Overall, I think the Battle Pass is fairly good. I already have a video up covering the entire contents of the Chapter 1 Battle Pass if you're curious, and whilst I do like a lot of the items, there are indeed a few fluff entries that I feel could have been replaced with something better. I think this is good for a first Battle Pass, and if it continues in this format, cutting down fluff and adding more desirable rewards in their place, I'm quite happy with it. That being said, if there comes a point in the future where the system of being able to earn the cost of the next Battle Pass by progressing the current one is not honoured, I think that will be a big point of contention, and it's not something I would endorse. I could maybe see it happening for new ages, but between chapters I think will be extremely contentious. Also, Funcom will be monitoring progression through the Battle Pass on the back end, and whilst it's hopefully spot on at launch, if it's going too slow or too fast, they can adjust that. Hopefully this isn't used to artificially slow down progression to encourage purchasing levels. Oh yeah, you can buy levels of the Battle Pass in batches of 1, 5 and 15. I'll be frank, the prices for those levels are ridiculously high, and I really don't see anyone using them. This is the only part of the Battle Pass that I think is a real misstep, and I hope that progression isn't ratcheted down to encourage these incredibly expensive purchases of levels. I also would really love to see the Battle Pass made available after they've completed, even on a delay. Again, that's something the community should be vocal about, and hopefully we can make that change happen. So now the Bazaar. This is basically an item store. Initially, I was a bit apathetic towards the Bazaar. During the pre-release testing beta, the testers had access to the Bazaar, but the prices were stated as a work in progress and not to be taken as final. During the public test live, the Bazaar was disabled, and now that the Age of Sorcery is out, I definitely have some solid opinions about the Bazaar. Firstly, I think the actual quality of each individual item is good. They visually look nice, and the art team have clearly stepped it up from the previous offerings. Before now, unlike some others, I've been fairly reserved in my opinions on the Bazaar until the final release. I prefer to err on the side of caution and optimism, and I was hopeful that the small glimpses of prices we'd seen before now would be pulled down to meet the criticisms. However, that doesn't seem to be the case. Even with a sale going on some of the larger items, the prices here are frankly ridiculous. Around $9 for half a building set, $11 for a couple of decorations and decals, $6 for a single bookcase, $2 for a single candlestick. Some of these decorations are amongst my favourites from the pre-release testing, but I cannot justify spending that amount on such a small quantity of items, regardless of how nicely designed they are. From my own admittedly biased position as a Conan content creator, sometimes I can justify prices like these because I could use them in 10, 20, even more videos in the future. But even if I can't justify them, the regular player who doesn't make Conan videos and has no desire to really produce any Conan content, they just want to play the game, can probably justify these prices even less than I can. Now again, some of these prices are discounted. The Black Magic starter set would be almost $20 off sale, and that is frankly shocking for what's included. I am a big proponent of price low, sell more, and I think that if many of these items were priced lower, they would sell more and be much better received. I don't want to put this down to malice as others have, as there is a significant difference between developing features in isolation and then releasing them to the public, but to be honest, I'm not sure how Funcom thought these prices were fair. Even with the vastly improved designs, these prices are just not it, and cutting these prices in half would make the Bazaar much better in my opinion. Also, the timings on these showcases are, in my opinion, far too long. The Black Magic set will sit there for 30 days, and even the smaller decorations like the candelabra will sit there for a week until they rotate out and new items are shown. These timings are frankly far too long, and considering these items will eventually come back, I do think they need to be adjusted. This would be improved with a catalogue system rather than a showcase system, something the devs have said they would consider in the future, but currently it's not being considered due to a lack of a backlog of items to actually put in the catalogue. Having now seen the full release of the Bazaar and the hefty timings on the showcases, I think a move to the catalogue is desperately needed. Even if there isn't a massive backlog of items to offer, it's just more user friendly, especially if those items are going to come back, which they've said they will. In summary, I hate to say it, but the Bazaar is bad. It doesn't ruin the whole update for me, I actually still pretty much enjoy everything else, but this is a serious misstep. There will be a lot of criticism about this feature, and I hope Funcom quickly takes it on board and addresses it accordingly. Alongside those larger features, there are plenty of smaller ones: quality of life changes, weapon and animation adjustments, PvP and building health changes, adjustments to snap points on some building pieces, etc. If you are a PvP player and you want to know more about what Age of Sorcery offers in that aspect, I would advise checking out this video by Seron, another Conan Exiles creator. I don't play PvP myself, I'm still burnt out from Ark about 7 years ago, but it's a genuinely entertaining video that covers a lot of those specialised areas that I don't have the experience to delve into. Seron has probably played more hours of PvP than I could even imagine, so go and check his video out. It is a genuinely good watch and offers some very useful insight into PvP changes with Update 3.0. So, we've covered all of the large stuff. What is my rating for the Age of Sorcery update? On my own scale, the average game sits at about a 5. On the balance of metrics, taking on board the good, the bad and the ugly, along with a little good faith in some of those lifetime systems, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Age of Sorcery is a massive step for Conan that will hopefully usher in a new era of consistency and regularity to a game that has desperately needed it for a long time. Sorcery, the building rework, the attribute overhaul and even elements of the Battle Pass are pretty good. The Bazaar is just not a good move, and whilst it doesn't spoil the rest of the update, it does leave a sour taste in the mouth, and it did stop me from rating this update any higher. Whilst I do see the actual gameplay and mechanics of Conan improving, and some of these lifetime systems offering stability and regularity to the game, the Bazaar does need adjusted because it's not going to be successful in this state, in my opinion, and I think the prices really need to be looked at seriously and pulled down, not only to meet the criticisms, but also likely to encourage people to actually make a purchase. However, away from the disappointment of the Bazaar, I think the Age of Sorcery update could indeed turn over a new leaf for Conan Exiles, a leaf that could finally see the game lift its head above the parapet and achieve the potential it has never truly harnessed. Thank you very much for watching. This has probably been a very long video, so if you've stuck around to the end, I salute your dedication. Of course, thank you to Funcom for reaching out and sponsoring this video. I do hope Age of Sorcery is a great success, and I look forward to seeing what's planned further down the line. Of course, a massive thank you to all of our wonderful coffee cultists for continuing to support the channel over on Patreon. Again, thank you very much for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.